So we're moving this old carpet that's been on my parents' homestead, my parents' side of the homestead. Look what we see underneath it.
Babe, you don't want it to be like...
Hi friends, I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and I've got to be honest with you guys about something. When I initially started this channel, one of my primary concerns was that I'd run out of stuff to film, that projects would dry up, and I wouldn't have any fresh content to share with you guys. There's only so many artsy montages of me feeding the chickens that I can get away with before the YouTube bloom is off the rose. Well, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and I gotta tell you, yo folks, I was wrong. Not only do I have plenty of projects to keep me busy, I've got too many of them. Frankly, I'm having issues just keeping up with everything. So it's on that note that I'd like to introduce you guys to the April installment of the Homestead Update and Walkaround. As with all Homestead Update and Walkaround episodes, you know what to do. Grab your favorite hot beverage and your sturdiest pair of boots, and let's take a walk. We got a lot to see. Before we get into the updates, I wanted to show you guys something pretty cool. Check this out. So you may recognize this as the garden shed, or the manger shed as I like to call it. But recently, the other day, I noticed something kind of interesting in the shelf here on the wall. Let me show you. Maybe you just saw that bird fly out. There's a nest here. And I don't know if it's a sparrow or some sort of barn swallow or something, but she's made her nest with pieces of moss and twigs and stuff, and inside, might be hard to notice, but it's like 4 or 5 little eggs. Each is no bigger than like a grape, and normally the mama bird is pretty furious whenever you get close, but like we just saw, it looks like she took off. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I did need to use the tie-down strap for something the other day when I noticed that this was kind of built on top of the tie-down strap, so I didn't end up using it. I'm going to let it sit for now until mama bird hatches these eggs. It's kind of cool to see. So I'm here in the hayloft, and if you're a regular viewer of the channel, then you know that the rafter beam directly above my head last week snapped, and the well over 1,000 pounds of sheet metal that I had laying up on these rafter beams collapsed and fell down here onto the floor of the hayloft. It was catastrophic, and if anyone was up here, they probably would have been killed or seriously injured. And so I was very thankful that no one was up here, but it shook me up pretty bad. A lot of folks left comments on that video explaining to me that, yes, you still have 2 rafter beams up here in the barn roof, but you need all 3. Those serve as support for the roof. And one way that barn roofs often collapse is they lose their rafter beams for cross support. So I quickly started to look for wood that was long enough that could serve as a replacement rafter beam, and I found a rafter beam that actually was just like the previous rafter beam. And my dad and I actually made the cuts and secured it up here to the roof of the barn. So basically we're left with what we did have before we put sheet metal on it. And so, as I mentioned in that video, there is no way in the world that I'm ever putting any weight on those rafter beams ever again. I'm just gonna let them do their job of supporting the roof beams, and I'm just gonna leave them there. So we're back to having 3 roof beams here in the rafters instead of just 2. And in the meantime, I was able to stack up all of the sheet metal here, you can see it behind me, into a pile here on the ground. Now I know I've said in the past that I'm loath to stack things on the ground here in the hayloft, but that's what this place is for, is to store things. And if I can't store sheet metal in my barn, where else am I going to store it? I had mentioned storing it out there in that shed that's out there in the woods, but we actually have some other ideas for what we're going to do with that shed. So I decided, you know what? I'm happy to have the sheet metal here on the floor of the hayloft. It doesn't really block the space that much, and it's a lot safer than having it above my head or above visitors' heads as we walk around here in the hayloft. I'm glad I got that taken care of. It was one of my first projects that I just wanted to knock out as soon as I got back from Polyphase. Okay, so those of you that know me and know the channel know how excited I am about update number 2. Update number 2, of course, is the garden. Where do I put this thing without it falling? So I'm not going to give you a huge tour of the garden today. I'll probably save that for another time, or point out which individual plants are in which individual boxes. Again, probably save that for another time. I just want to soak in this for a moment and realize that most of the garden project is complete. We got all the raised beds down. Again, I made all of these raised beds from salvage wood I found in the barn. We got all the mulch down. This mulch is from trees that we had cut down on the property. We have some logs surrounding the mulch area, and the logs are there to kind of help discourage critters from getting in, along with this fence that we got, another Premier One fence. Now, I know we have a lot of Premier One fences here on the homestead, but they're effective, they work. And so if they keep critters out from getting at the chickens, the hope is that they'll keep critters out from getting at the garden. So that's what we've done. And so basically the garden is right where we need it to be. We've got a total of 10 boxes here and 3 boxes over there. I showed you those 3 boxes a few episodes ago. Those contain some greens, and they're positioned that way so they don't get full sunlight throughout the day. They have partial shade, because we found that greens will often bolt out and go to seed early if they get full sunlight the whole day. So we're getting those guys in partial shade, and they're covered up like that just to keep critters away and insects. But here, I mean, just look at it, guys. This is the garden. This is what I've been hoping for. This was our big second project of the year, was getting this thing done. And so we've done that. We've got the garden mostly done. We still have quite a few plants left to put into the beds. This was just an idea in our heads 2 months ago, and now it's an actual living reality. We've got ourselves our garden here right next to the chicken run, and we're pretty excited about what we'll be able to do with it. I really just love it so much. This is one of my favorite places to be on the homestead here in the garden. I think actually I'm gonna get myself like a little picnic table or something to put out here in this grassy area, maybe with an umbrella on it. And I'm just gonna sit here and look at the garden. And that's it. I'll just sit here for half an hour, 45 minutes, and just look at the garden. Can you blame me? Also, we got a pair of apple trees. You'll notice that they're not exactly the same. They're different. Originally, we bought 2 pink ladies, and the guy that we were at the garden store said, "You do have cross-pollinators for those pink ladies, right?" And we said, "Can't they cross-pollinate each other?" And he said, "No, they have to be different species, or they have to be different breeds." He said he typically recommends, if you have one sweet apple tree, to get a tart apple tree to serve as its cross-pollinator. So the other apple tree that we got was this Fuji apple. So we have 1 pink lady and 1 Fuji apple. I'm not quite sure where we're gonna put them yet. Maybe out there on the other side of our gravel driveway by that holly bush. I don't know. We'll have to do some research, but hopefully we'll have these guys in the ground here soon. Update number 3 is a fun one. I think I was watching a popular homestead YouTuber, I believe it was Justin Rhodes recently, who said that the #1 tool for homesteaders is the chainsaw. And while I know that's a subjective claim, I think there's some merit to it. What better way to clear forested land as an individual homesteader than a chainsaw? It's with that I'm happy to say that I've got one. Now, if you've watched the channel, then you know that for a while I've been using my dad's electric chainsaw, a plug-in chainsaw, really. It was kind of a pain in the butt to use because anytime I wanted to bring it out to the forest that was way far away from an outlet, I had to take my generator with me. Well, now I don't have to worry about it, and frankly, this gas-powered chainsaw is a lot more powerful than that plug-in chainsaw ever would be. What are you going to do with all these, Holly?
Thank you. They smell so good. I am going to have these in my herb garden as little stepping stone pretties.
And you're putting your herb garden down here, right?
Yes, because a lot of these are perennials and I want them to spread, so I'm going to cut through the cloth and plant them down here.
Nice. Can't wait to see it.
Yes.
The chainsaw isn't the only addition to the homestead. My dad actually picked up a power washer. And let me tell you folks, power is an understatement. What do you think of the power washer, Dad?
Well, so far so good.
What are you going to use it for? Just
Soaking wet.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't keep you dry.
No, that's okay. It's a nice day for it.
You're primarily going to use it for cleaning off siding, or do you have other projects in mind for it?
Yeah, siding for the garage and also for the house, but also want to take it to the deck.
Yeah.
The deck is in not so good shape.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how well it cleans up.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff has just been caked on for so long.
Years.
Yeah, a long time. So some of it's coming off really, really nice, and other stuff is
Just baked in.
caked on. So
Cool.
I may have to get up there and scrub, old-fashioned elbow
Yeah.
grease.
Take them to the woods.
Okay. Yeah, just halfway out.